right into our memory verse for today. So, David. Okay. It seems long, but hopefully I'll give you some time to memorize it. So if I'm talking too fast, you can also tell me to slow down. Or if you don't understand some of the things I'm explaining, take the time if you can to memorize it, whether it be in English or in Chinese. 所以但是有一些听不懂，就花一点时间背英文还是背中文也 OK. Okay. So first just repeat after me. We know that suffering produces perseverance. Produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. Perseverance, character. And character, hope. And character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Put us to shame. Because God's love has been poured out. Because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit. Through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us. Who has been given to us. Romans 5, 3b to 5. 3b to 5. And that little b just means it's the second half of verse 3. Okay? Second half of 3. And actually it's not as hard as you think. Because if you look, it has suffering produces perseverance. And then perseverance again. Then character. Then character again. Then hope. And hope shouldn't be so hard. What I did want to look at is some of those words that are kind of long. Sorry. Okay, the first word is suffering. Can you repeat it after me? Suffering. Suffering. What is suffering? Do you like to suffer? No. I don't think any of us like to suffer. Suffering has a feeling of pain, like you are hurt. Like when I fell off my scooter. I was riding a scooter and I fell off and it hurts. Okay, so I was suffering a little bit, but not a lot. It says the definition for suffering has to do with pain or distress or misery or a loss, losing something. But it has something to do with enduring. It's an enduring pain, which means it doesn't just go away right away. Sandra mentioned this week is, I guess, Passion Week. Does anyone know what passion means? When I think of passion, at first I always thought about like when a boyfriend or girlfriend or a husband and a wife, they have passion for each other. It's a love for each other. But we talk about the passion of Christ. Is it just His love? And there's another definition for passion, and it means suffering. It's when Jesus had this, through His road of suffering to the cross. I don't know if you know the story. If you don't, if you have a chance to watch The Passion of Christ, there's a movie, and it's really bloody, and it's just about how much Jesus suffered for us, and so that's suffering. But actually, as much as suffering gives us trouble, it produces something, which actually is kind of good. And we're going right into it. Perseverance. It's 4 syllables. Perseverance. Can you say it? Perseverance. 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 Good. And the definition of perseverance is, because it comes after suffering, it's adhering. Adhering just means to stick. Adhering to a cause of action, belief, or a purpose. So it's sticking. You always want to do an action, or that something you believe in, or something that you have a purpose to do. Okay? Does that make sense? Is it hard to understand? It has to do with steadfastness. So this is something that you kind of do not sway from. Like we say, the wind blows, but you stick to what you want to do. Your friends or other people may say, oh, don't do it this way. But you kind of just stick to what you want to do. A couple of phrases that I wanted to go over. One of them, they used this in 1915 in America. Does anyone know what in 1915 what the people were like in America? 1915. That was the time of the cowboys. Everybody knows what a cowboy is, right? With guns and then riding horses and a cowboy hat. They have a phrase called "come hell or high water," and how we know is you go to heaven or you go to hell after you die, right? But they say come hell or high water because the cowboys, they take the cows from one place to another. And that's why kind of they're called cowboys. And often they come across a river. And when it rains hard, the river comes up very high. And maybe it's as bad for them as hell. But come hell or high water means no matter what happens, I am going to persevere. I have to go through this. I have to take these cows to where I want to go. So if you say, I'm going to do something, come hell or high water, that means no matter what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So sometimes we get discouraged or we have difficulty, but if we have perseverance, okay, then we can go through it. Another word that we often use is die hard. That's another movie too with Bruce Willis. You guys know that movie? Die Hard. Die Hard is just, and if you see Bruce Willis in that movie, he just comes back. And the movie comes back. And it just keeps coming back, right? And it's always kind of the same. Okay, but that's perseverance. Okay? Another word phrase we use is keeping a stiff upper lip. Because sometimes when we're scared or we're sad, we would cry and we say like our face, and our whole face quivers. But if we keep a stiff upper lip, we're tough, we are persevering. Keep a stiff upper lip. Or to keep one's chin up. Okay, to keep one's chin up. These are all ways that we can persevere, be steadfast. A better definition I really like is remaining. Again, it means staying or sticking. Remaining in a state of grace until death. And I think this is what we have as Christians. Because we have this grace from God, we can remain where we are until we die, and then we go to heaven, right? Another word that they sometimes use is doggedness. Doggedness doesn't have anything to do with a dog, except that a dog maybe is very faithful, and he will always stick by you, and he is very, he will persevere next to you no matter how things are hard. Okay, go on to the next one. Character. Character, there's 3 syllables. Character. He said the character. Character. Okay. Character, at first when I thought of character, it's different qualities that you have. And actually, the important thing I wanted to say about that, because this is not the character I want to talk about. Because the character here is through suffering, through perseverance, and then comes his character. So it's not just how we are different. It is true that as individuals, different people, we need to have different characters. But the character we want to talk about here has to do with a morality. It has to do with ethical strength, what is right. Being able to make a stand for what is right. So if you can see, suffering, this suffering has to be for something kind of right. And then if we persevere and suffer through these things that are right, it builds up something in ourselves. That's a character. And ethical strength means it gives us kind of a power. One of the words they use when they talk about character is, what is your testimony like? Right? How is your testimony? If you've got character, you've got a testimony. Okay? And it shows what's in your spirit. We talk about fiber, right? 纤维质, right? If something, you cook it for a long time, and then what's left of that thing sometimes is the fiber. Sometimes we say a person, after you suffer, persevere, what's left? That's your character. It was what shines through what's left at the end. The toughest thing to take away from you. Okay. We talk about responsibility. And I was thinking of Spider-Man. Does anybody know that phrase? Spider-Man, his uncle tells him, what? With great power comes great responsibility. And that's character. So if you ever watch Spider-Man again, I like Spider-Man because he has a lot of character. Okay? He does what is right. He's a student, he goes through a lot of things. It's easy for him, being Spider-Man, to have a lot of power. And he's very strong, he can just beat up the bullies and do all these things. But he learns character, and actually through suffering and perseverance, because he learns this because his uncle dies. And then he learns, whoa, I've got to take responsibility. And then he learns this, and then it changes his character. So that Spider-Man becomes a hero, and maybe instead of a villain, a bad person. Okay. And again, our character has to be shown through actions. One way we think about character is, if you're looking for a job, like some people may be doing very soon, you need to give recommendations. And the recommendations, you ask your old boss to tell your new boss about your character. Are you trustworthy? Do you work hard? This is hard for me because even learning about character, I find maybe I am not so responsible. I am lazy. So hopefully your character shows through these things. And hopefully we can always change some of these things. And the last thing, hope. Hope, an easy word. Hope, right away, what do we think of when we think of hope? What words do you think of when you think of hope? Maybe wish or desire. A dream, very good, dreams. Actually, I thought of dreams, and I also thought about rainbows, right? But the difference between a hope and a wish is there's an expectation. You are waiting for something that you really think you are going to get. Have you ever thought about that? When we hope in God, what do we expect, or what are we waiting that we're going to get? And that's the hope. It's not a wish. Because a wish, I guess you can make a wish, and whether it comes or whether not. In America, there's a $500 million lotto right now that's big in the news. And everybody's kind of going crazy. But is that hope? No, that's not really hope. Maybe it's hope is if you have a son or a daughter who's very sick and you need this money to help pay for their medical bills. And this lottery gives you some hope. But that is what we say, hope against hope. Which means there's very little reason, or there's almost no way it's going to happen. Hope against hope. You're hoping against hope. And hopefully though, but we have hope in God. And that isn't hope against hope. Because although hope is expecting or wishing something difficult, it's not impossible. We say things for us are impossible. But with God, nothing is impossible. Okay, maybe that's why we can count on God, and that's where our faith comes from. So from faith, it comes this word we call faith. Okay, and like when I talk about the rainbow, does anybody know where the rainbow appears in the Bible? For most people, we talk about a rainbow as being a elusive or an illusionary dream. That we always talk about chasing rainbows. If you are chasing rainbows, you're chasing a dream that will probably not happen. Okay? You're chasing a dream. Maybe my son, he wants to be Jeremy Lin. He wants to play in the NBA. And he's kind of chasing rainbows. So, oh, sorry, I'm taking a long time. But in the Bible, the rainbow talks about, it appears after Noah, and he comes out of the ark, and it gives, it's a covenant, it's a promise, and it gives us hope that God will not destroy the world again. So actually, let's go on and memorize the verses. So again, the key words that I want to hit right real quickly are suffering, perseverance, character, and hope. Okay? And then the last thing is that does not put us to shame. So actually, we'll just memorize up to there. Is that okay? We'll just memorize up to shame. We know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Okay, we'll just stop there. Okay, David, can you show the next one? Okay. Can anybody want to try? I'll read it again. We know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Does anybody want to try? It's hard. Okay, David, can you go back up to the first one? Let's read it again then, and just read it together. 1, 2, 3, go. We know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. I'll stop there. David, this one. Anybody want to try? Can I call on people? Well, we're short on time. I'll call on Eric here. Eric.
We know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame.
Very good. Thank you, Eric. Right, it's hard. We know that suffering produces, let's say it again together. We know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. And character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. David, one more? We'll just do one more. We're kind of out of time. I said too much. Anybody want to try? We know that what? Suffering. Deborah, thank you.
We know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope, and hope does not put us to shame.
Very good. Okay, say that again really quickly together. We know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. David, can you just black it out? Me. Okay. Everybody? Anybody? Okay, we'll memorize together. Would they want to try to memorize the whole thing? Anybody?
We know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Because, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so David, can you black it out? We'll memorize it together. Is that okay? We know suffering produces perseverance, character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Because God's love has been poured out into, because God's love has been because God has poured out His love into our hearts. Because God's love, what's different? Because God's love has been poured out has been poured out into, oh yes, our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Romans 5, 3b-5. Okay, thank you. And let's welcome